Important that the real Italian-American story be told, because a lot of the culture that took place, particularly over the last 100 years, 110, 120 years, has really not been fully explored, vetted, and shared. And that's what we want to do. And so we've amassed a very, very nice collection of artifacts that continues to be increasing every single day. And I mean that literally every single day. It's kind of overwhelming because this is a volunteer organization, but you know, it's something that needs to be done. And I feel very blessed to be responsible for the patrimony that is the Italian-American community. Filmmaker Tony DiNonno has produced, written, and directed more than 50 award-winning documentary films. His portraits reveal fundamental human values with a spirit, passion, and emotion that is compelling and sublime. New York film critic Paul Keel described his work as just about impeccable. That's not bad. Janet Maslin, film critic for the New York Times, praised his depth and impressive filmmaking, intuitive awareness of the subject's uniqueness, individuality, and significance to society. Tony DiNonno's films have been broadcast on almost every American television station: ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, HBO, PBS, USA, Showtime, and TV stations worldwide. His award-winning documentary films are included in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art. He has also produced and directed more than 25 television commercials and public service announcements. Mr. DiNonno has directed 3 off-Broadway plays, and he has written 2 plays as well. A songwriter and a member of ASCAP, Mr. DiNonno has composed and co-written the score for more than 15 documentary films, as well as music and lyrics to more than 24 pop songs. Tony is now about to introduce someone to you himself. Tony's the tall one, not the short one. Tony, come on, take the podium. Thank you.
Buonasera, buonasera a tutti. Mi chiamo Orlando Furioso. In the ancient Egyptian tombs, they found puppets of ivory and wood. And in ancient Greece, 1,500 years later, they found puppets that told the stories of the great stories that were of the Iliad and the Odyssey. And some historians believe that the origins of puppetry predate actors in theaters. So puppeteers, which the Manteos are an example of, and I will get to that later, emerged as great storytellers. The storytellers are the people that transmitted the stories. So here we are, we're telling stories, and I'm going to tell the story about the family, but the story about puppeteers are the stories about values and traditions and legacies and epic stories that have touched mankind for millennium, through many, many years. And some things are really, in this world, in this era, we're missing some of that continuity and the incredible development of these stories that were told from generation to generation for years and years. And that's how they emerge before your eyes and tell the story, multi-characters, the characters showing all dimensions of the characters that we know in our lives. And they also have the ability to tell the story of the Iliad and the Odyssey and the Bible, which were part of the Manteo marionette traditions, by incorporating people in their town, in their community. Just like the artists of the Renaissance, they painted their enemies and their patrons in the paintings of biblical periods. They would incorporate that. And that's the magic of storytelling. So when I'm here tonight and we're sharing stories about the Manteo, is I always implore you and I try to inspire you and challenge you to continue to tell the stories about the good and bad and the evil and the wonderful people in your own individual families, to learn the stories and continue that storytelling tradition, because that is at the art and the origins of who we are as humankind, who we are as human beings. And that's at the heart, at the beginning of this storytelling process. I created a work called Orlando Furioso. So Furioso, but what does Furioso mean? Furious madness. Really madness he's talking about. So, what madness? What madness could drive him furious?
Love.
Angelica! Angelica! Unmusical instruments to dramatize the story and embellish the story and captivate the story. So here we have the story of Ludovico Ariosto. He becomes a rage. Orlando Furioso is translated. It inspires everyone in Europe, a compelling story. And in Sicily, still occupied in the early 18th century, the emergence of these rod puppets. I jumped ahead because there's so much flowing in my mind about the history of these marionettes. But these are rod puppets, where rod puppets come straight through the head. And this is made of wood and excelsior and copper and brass. And these marionettes, this was handmade by Papa Matteo he used to go around with his station wagon. I used to drive with him a couple of times. I don't have it in film because I didn't have it in the budget. I could only shoot limited in the film, you'll see. But he made this sword, which is a traditional mini version of the Catania marionettes. The styles here go back to the early 1800s. The style of the marionettes, the shields, it's a distinctive style that's different from the marionettes in Palermo, the marionettes in other parts of Italy, of Sicily, and Naples. And the thing about the Sicilian marionettes, and there's one here by the door, they're life-size. This is a miniature version. That version there is, and some of the giants weigh up to 125 pounds. They stand 5 feet tall, and they're operated from a bridge. So the emergence of the Sicilian marionette theater comes from the storytelling traditions. And what I want to say that these marionette storytellers were phenomenal actors. Today, I've been working with Papa Matteo going back till 1976. And with the marionettes, I go back with her mother, Ida, and Susie also was a seamstress. She made the gowns and the dresses, and that's another part of this incredible tradition. This incredible tradition of Sicilian marionettes incorporates all the guild traditions and the art forms of the Middle Ages. So there's seamstress, there's people that there's people that draw and create faces. Now, Joe has examples of marionettes. There's African marionettes, there's Middle Eastern marionettes, there's all people of all cultures and characters incorporated in this incredible story. And these people had to not only be effective storytellers and actors and sustain stories for years, but they had to maintain and build and create this tradition for generations and generations and generations. And the uniqueness of the shield and the stylistic is typical of Catania. And you could see the beauty and the artwork of this incredible folkloric and artistic tradition. So to think about the medieval seamstress making the gowns of lace, and Susie could tell you of the materials that they use, the finest, you know, whether a great puppeteer brings life to the doll and brings life to all of us and illuminates us with life, with feeling, with passions, with the story, and that's what these puppeteers use. So I want to that was a little backdrop of what the history of the marionettes. And so I want to take, without further ado, I want to share with you now a film that I had the good fortune to make. Will be moved and be touched by these timeless stories that reflect the humanities and our cultures for the thousands and thousands of years. So I'm so honored to be here to celebrate this momentous occasion with the Manteo family and Dr. Shelton, the Italian-American Museum. We're all here, and I thank each and every one of you for coming down here to pay tribute to these marionettes and to celebrate with us. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
We hope, I mean, it's my dream, to have the theater and to be able to produce that, to have a workshop and to be able to continue to go on with it. But at the very least, to be able to not only store them, but to be able to display them.
Yeah.
You know, conserve them, yes. Restore them, no. No, right? Yes. Conserve them, yes, because they must remain in their original condition, as opposed to being restored. But you know, that's the hope. But you know, all great trips start with the first step. So we've started with the first step. Unfortunately, the Matteo family has had belief in this project, and I guess in me. So they've consented, and they have given this collection to us because we could never afford it. We could never afford it, ever.
It's priceless.
It's, you know, it's priceless as far as I'm concerned. I think as far as we're all concerned. So there is a tremendous amount of interest. I mean, and I recognize that, you know, we really need to do more with it. But you know, one step at a time. But if you are interested and you want to get involved in whatever way you can, please, you know, get involved with us and help us to make this dream a reality. We need to have it needs to have its own room, and then we need the stage to be assembled as well. And maybe then, you know, we can get some puppeteers, because there are some Sicilian puppeteers that still do this work, that we can bring over from Sicily. How did you find out about this tonight?
A friend emailed.
Would you like to be on their email list too?
I think I got it on my phone.
Okay.
Make reservations.
If you're not on the email list, you have to be on it.
Oh, I am. That's how I found out about it.
And I were like family members of Pieri, you know, the young Italian-Americans.
Oh, you were one of the founders too, I didn't know.
I was in Brooklyn. They started in the Bronx.
Yeah, mostly all the restaurants. Like Angelo's and Ferrara. Very good.
And it's a shame. At the time, everyone was raising families. It was hard to just get everyone.
I was just in Sicily, in Palermo, and they had the daughters